All right. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday morning mat class, and we're going to get going with a nice solid core workout to send us into the weekend. We'll want our normal suite of props, something for the inner thighs, something for arm work, and we will be doing a fair amount of work, at least initially, with the shoulders and the arms. So it might pay to find anything you want to use for that. Cans of soup work great. Tomato paste, great. Fits in your hand very nicely. The other thing you might want is a flex band, a blanket or a towel for under your head, and maybe a cushion or a low stool or even a chair nearby to sit on when we get to that portion of the workout. All righty. Once you've assembled all of those things, go ahead and lie down on the mat. I'm going to stay seated for our warm up, especially so I can see how you guys are doing. But you guys will be lying down. Good. So when you've laid down, you can stretch your legs or not. Do any kind of settling in that's required for you to rest in a relaxed way into the mat. Eventually, any little movements you're doing, you're going to let them subside. You're going to come to a still point, comfortable still point though, not a gripped or tense still point, resting into the mat. And there we just find the breath and really start to pay attention to that process. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. You take your time with this. And don't apply any force to either phase of the breath, right? So we're very gentle. Breath in and breath out in a continuous stream. So not pausing. I know sometimes we do that. Feel that the texture of the breath is almost liquid in nature. So it's warm, it's fluid, right? As it passes down and back up through the length of your torso. And is comfortable and pleasant. So you want to you want to have a friendly attitude toward this breathing process. We have two more rounds, just feeling the flow of breath and maybe experiencing it in the whole body, not just the torso. And when you've released that last exhale, we'll bend the knees if they're straight and put the ball between them. I know you might have a very good reason for not using a prop between the inner thighs, and that's fine. Instead, if you're electing to forego the prop, just be very aware of the placement of your feet and how, in particular, the big toe line relates to the line up the inner thigh into the hips, and the hips do bracket the pubic bones. We'll inhale through the nose, and now we pause at the bottom of the inhale. Referencing the feet or the inner thighs, begin to activate through that line and then continue with the exhale breath. When you're ready to inhale, take that breath downward without pressing from the neck or the shoulders. And then again, the little pause, identifying inner thigh line from the feet. Exhale upward, squeezing the ball or block if you're using it. Have 4 more rounds of breath with this focus. And if your hands are on your lower abs, you should not only feel that as you squeeze the ball, you get a drop through the low belly, but under the surface of your hand, you want to feel a little intensification, not through the skin or the muscles right underneath, but deep inside the well of the pelvis. Finish the round of breath you're on and do one more with that exhale focus. And then resume your inhale and exhale and just kind of let go of any technique you've applied to the breath. In a moment, we'll return to that focus where we activate inner thighs, but we're going to shift our priority to the feeling of the inhale. So I made a comment earlier about not pressing the inhale down with the shoulders or the neck. Release all pressure from across the shoulder girdle through the depth of your chest, up the stem of the neck. Instead, imagine as you inhale a clear pathway downward as the breath falls through the length of your spine along its various curves into that deep part of the pelvis. There, you'll activate your inner thighs from feet or squeezing the prop and exhale upward through that same pathway. Inhale falls through the levels of your spine, creating openness as it passes. Exhales rise. And I'd like you to have 4 more rounds of breath with this focus. And you can think of the muscles in pelvic floor not even really in an effortful way, but simply as a target as the inhale falls down the length of your spine. Finish the round of breath you're on and do one more. And now we add a movement to this breath awareness. Bear in mind that this is foundational, so don't throw anything you've been doing out the window. We simply add an ab contraction. And of course, I'm talking about imprint. So we inhale in preparation, breath falling down through the levels of your spine. As it lands in pelvic floor, you might begin to squeeze the ball or activate from the feet. And then exhale, feel the breath rise first before moving, and then chase it with the imprint action, contracting the lower abs just under the surface of your skin. Stay here and inhale. As you exhale, feel again the initiation of the breath, and then continue with the release of the lower surface abs, allowing the low spine to resume its neutral shape. Do 4 more of these with this pattern. Exhale, and then when you feel core sensation from that exhale breath, move into your imprint. It'll be faster than my dialogue. And same idea with the sequencing of the return. Exhale occurs first, and then the movement chases. A total of 5, please. Probably moving through the last repetition here. And once you've returned from to neutral from that last repetition of imprint, put your prop off to the side if you're using one. We're going to keep it gentle. And if you need, as we do hip release, if you need to modify that circular motion, you can simply open and close the leg in a clamshell, right? We're going to do 4 repetitions. Start with one leg long if you're moving through the circle. Exhale in preparation. And then on the inhale, drop the knee out to the side, stretch the leg down. On the exhale, return, rolling medially and pulling it up, or simply allowing the foot to become level with the floor if you're doing clamshell. Continue through 4 rounds of this movement. Now reverse that after 4 rounds, dropping the knee inward and sliding down, turning outward and drawing up, or simply continue through a couple more rounds of the clamshell, opening and closing. Alternatively, you can imprint and release, or you can just breathe as we finish the circular motion of the hip release. When you've completed the first side, stretch both legs long or stay in bent knees if you're doing clamshell. Inhale and exhale, bend the opposite leg. We start in the outward direction. Inhale, knee moves out to the side, leg slides down. And exhale, knee rolls in, you pull the heel up, or alternatively, return to your parallel position. 4 total. And be very gentle with this, right? This is part of our warm up segment. When you've done your 4, please reverse the direction of your initiation. If you're doing clamshell, you just breathe or maybe throw in an extra 1 or 2. After completing your last one, take the flex band off from clamshell or stretch both legs long. Actually, everyone stretches both legs long. And we point and flex the feet a couple of times, pulling the toes up and pointing the toes away. And then we make ankle circles, circling both feet clockwise as you look down the length of your legs, metaphorically, and then counterclockwise, both feet moving in the same sense. Once you've done that, bend the knees again, and your choice of prop is up to you. You can certainly place the prop between the knees or inner thighs. And you can use weights in your hands if you like. We're going to start with some movements through the shoulders. And obviously, we're moving through the shoulders, so your attention will be there. But I want you to feel the shoulder support emanating or coming from the base of the ribs rather than the base of the neck. So you might need to move more slowly or through a smaller range or even without weights until you get a clear feeling of the connection of the ribs and the shoulders into your core. So extend the arms forward. After that long lecture, please extend the arms forward and have an inhale and an exhale, feeling the breath, the inhale fall down through the length of your spine and the exhale rising along that same pathway. No disruptions, no pieces of your spine left out of the picture. We prepare to reach arms back by inhaling. Exhale, feel the clear pathway of the breath upward and stretch the arms back without closing off the spine. Hold here, reaching, inhaling, and then exhale, connecting the shoulders and the arms downward into the core. Return, lifting the arms forward toward the ceiling. We do 3 more. Inhale in preparation, and exhale to stretch back. It pays to take the time on your exhale to connect first and then complete the movement. Twice more, please. Continuing through that final repetition. Once the arms are vertical in space, turn your palms, and you can still hold weights, turn your palms toward the direction of your feet or your thighs. I want you to imagine you're doing push-ups here. So we have our arms extended forward as though we're in a plank or push-up position. Be aware of neutral through the posture. And on an inhale breath, allow the elbows to bend, the chest to spread, and the hands to drop back toward the shoulders. On the exhale breath, get your core and extend the arms forward. We do this 4 times as well. Different breath pattern. Feel the activation of the chest as you press from the chest. So this isn't triceps. We inhale and pull the elbows back toward the sides of the ribs. And exhale, push the arms forward, elbows extending. One more. Pull the elbows back and press the hands forward. Now, finally, once more, the palms face inward. And on the next inhale breath, open across the span of your chest, arms reaching out to the side. On the exhale breath, of course, engage your core, use the breath work, and bring the arms forward as though you're squeezing something between your hands. Hands coming no closer than shoulder width, though. A total of 4 times. Mhm. When you're done with the last one, bring your arms down along your sides and turn your head right and left, or left and right. Don't pick your head up from the mat. Just simply roll along the roundness of the back of your head. Feel that you still have a clear channel of breath and connection through the stem of the neck. And then roll over to lie on one side or the other for spinal rotation. Now, if you're going to modify this one, you'll simply sit up and do rotation that way. However you're doing this, we have the knees bent side by side, feet, hips, and shoulders stacked, neutral spine, and your gaze is directly forward. So don't be tempted to look down at your hands or down at your knees. Arms are extended to the front, the palms are together. And I'd like you to exhale and gently draw the shoulder blades back. Squeeze the knees as you do this. And then inhale, begin to turn the head upward and lift the top arm. Exhale, open into twist. Wherever you are, hold the twist as you inhale and soften. Exhale, return. We do 3 total. Continuing through the next rotation. Returning with good connection into your center. Really make your center, that deep well I talk about in the pelvis, the focus of your initiation. When you've returned from the last one, roll over to the other side or simply prepare to rotate in the other direction. Now, once you're there, you'll inhale, turn the head upward and lift the top arm. And as you exhale, twist. And no need to rush. I'm not going to leave you behind. I was just giving some cueing for those ready for the other direction. We'll do 3 total. Inhale to start the opening movement. Exhale to really fall back into twist. Inhale there. And exhale to return. As the top arm falls back or opens back, center that arm bone in the shoulders. And don't initiate your return by slinging the arm forward or pulling from the front of the shoulder. Find the bottom of the ribs and pull from there. Good. When you finish the last one, return to your backs. So we're going to save cat stretch for a little bit later on and move directly into hip rolls. And again, I'm watching the screen, so I'm not going to start hip rolls until you're lying in that position. Hip rolls, the neck and the shoulders need to be able to, I should say, get to relax entirely. You are going to be, as you come up, lifting the chest and the ribs forward through the shoulders. So you'll get what feels like a head nod. Be aware of that. You'll get what feels like an extension of the shoulders to the back. Look for it, right? All right, so let's get there in a moment. Place your feet, put the ball or prop between your knees or ankles. Inhale, breath falling down the levels of your spine. And then as you exhale, squeeze the ball and begin to roll up, rounding the spine from bottom to top. Tailbone lifting, lower back lifting, waist, bottom of the ribs, all the way up into extension. Stay here for a full breath in and a full breath out, pressing firmly down into the feet, using the glutes and feeling the expansion across both shoulders bilaterally. Inhale, and then exhale, roll back down, not squeezing the front of the shoulder, just activating the bottom of the ribs. Returning through imprint into neutral. And then we do 2 more repetitions. Prepare, inhaling. Exhale, get that unimpeded flow of breath. Squeeze the ball and roll upward, chasing the breath with your movement. Look for that openness across the front of the shoulders as you inhale. And then when you exhale and roll down, look for that connection, that integration of the bottom of the ribs. No pinching in the shoulders. One more, please. Stand firmly on the ground, strong in your feet and your legs. Very nice. Once the feet are on the floor, have a breath in and out and feel the weight of the tailbone, the weight of the hips. Don't tense or press to do that, but truly allow the weight of the bones and the muscles to just drop into the mat. Keeping the settled connection through the lower body, through your center. Inhale, nod the chin downward. Keep the nod of the chin and feel how this is like the position at the top of the hip rolls, where the chest is lifted toward the chin and the shoulders are falling back. It's just a different way of approaching it. Now the chest is down and the chin is nodded. Exhale, release that nod. Now more smoothly, inhale, draw the chin downward, opening across the chest rather than closing it. And exhale, release. One more time, inhale, nod. And exhale, release. We extend the arms forward and we'll do some arm circles. So you might want to clear space around you. No weights. We just want to feel that nice rotation of the arms. And then we'll take it into some ab prep. So arms start extended forward. Exhale here. And on the inhale, reach the arms back. On the exhale, sweep them along the floor, out to the sides, making big arcs down toward your hips. And then inhale, lift up and reach back. Exhale, circling along the ground. Do 2 more, 4 total in this direction. Feel the rotational movement of the shoulder blades on the back that allow for the comfortable rotation of the arm bones and the shoulders. After you've completed the final one, end with your arms down by your sides. We reverse there, inhaling to sweep open along the floor, coming to the overhead position, and then exhale to pull over from the top. Now, as you do these 4 repetitions, feel in particular the connection through the bottom of the rib cage as you exhale and bring the arms forward and down. It's not a real effort through the front of the shoulders or even the head of the arm bones. Instead, it's nice movement through the shoulder blades and adaptation or connection through the bottom of the ribs. Keep the arms reaching long. Shrug the shoulders up with your inhale and down with your exhale. Having settled the shoulders, decide if you want to support the head in ab prep or if you want to leave the arms reaching by your sides. When you're ready, you'll nod the chin to the chest, keeping the shoulders open. And then exhale, bend forward through the upper back. You've already bent through the neck. You don't need to do that or exaggerate it. Bend the upper back, and that can be kind of sticky, literally. Hold the forward flexion, inhaling into the tightest space between the shoulder blades, and then exhale and lower. And I'm making much of the upper body, but we're still retaining our primary focus on the pelvis and core. Nod the chin to the chest. The head position is set. Now exhale, soften between the shoulder blades in back of you and bend forward, applying strength from lower abs into lower ribs to lift the weight of the shoulders. Exhale and lower. Practice this skill 4 more times. That's it. Last couple of repetitions. Retain a neutral pelvis, clear foundation for the breath, for the core connection upward. Probably finish the repetition you're on and get the last one in. And I'll know you're done with that because you'll stretch your legs long, putting the prop off to the side. We are preparing for prone extension. So once you've stretched the legs long, you can either do some movements here through the feet and the ankles like we did before, or you can roll directly over onto your belly. We will start with hip extension. So rest your upper body and shoulders in a position that's entirely comfortable for you. We will not be moving the spine. And in fact, that's part of the exercise. We want to isolate the hips. So when you've made the upper body comfortable, settle the bottom of the pelvis and use a little bit of ab muscle to draw the pubic bones gently forward, grounding but not bearing down. Yeah. Then stretch the legs out below you and become aware of the bottom of your glutes, your sitting bones essentially, and the very top of your hamstrings. We're going to be moving through this part of your anatomy has a name. It's called the subgluteal crease. It's the bottom of your bum, right? So we're going to be moving through that joint in that area. With the legs stretched, back of the knees, toes pointed, we inhale. Begin that exhale from deep in the pelvis. And as you continue through, begin to lift the legs, moving at that bottom of the hip space. Keep stretching the legs out below you as they lift from the ground. Inhale, breath falling through the levels of your spine. And then exhale, stretch and support as you lower the legs to the floor. 2 more like this, moving only on the exhale breath. Continue when you're ready. Feel the necessity of relaxing and opening the front of the hip joints, the part of your hips that's touching the ground. Completing that final repetition. We keep the legs anchored to the floor. So for the remainder of our extension, now the legs are settled into ground. They're still active a little bit, yeah? And we bring our arms down along our sides. We'll go into breaststroke prep number 2 or dart. It's a small lift, it's a middle back activation, and a lot of focus for core support with that breathing pattern we're going to use. Let's inhale and lift the arms along the sides, centering the shoulders. Feel a centering of the head. And then on the exhale, stretch the arms along your hips, reaching towards your ankles as the chest rises, moving forward and upward a couple of inches. Inhale, hold, breath falling through the levels of your spine, and then exhale, release the work of the back, maintain the work of the core, and lower gently to the mat. We have 2 more times. Preparing, placing the shoulders, and then exhaling, rising. Front of the hips are still open, back of the hips still lightly active. Inhale, clearing the levels of the spine, and exhale, supporting as you lower. Continue through your final repetition. Mhm. Once you've lowered, we'll finish it off with breaststroke prep number 1. So we'll bend the elbows, put our hands up near the shoulders, elbows again hugging in toward the side of the ribs. So you can think of our little push-up action we did lying on our back. We have that chest open, the elbows back. We have the shoulders integrated with the ribs through the pelvis into the legs. We'll inhale, clearing the levels of the spine, and then exhale. Movement chases the breath as we begin to reach forward and upward a couple inches, and then finally bend backward into extension through the upper half of the spine. Have a breath. Exhale and lower. 2 more of these as well. Prepare with the breath in. Support with the breath out, moving into your extension, stretching the inner surface of the spine across the chest and through your length. Feel this holistically with this last repetition. Be aware of your body in a 3-dimensional way. And once you've lowered, sit back into a shell stretch, please. Mhm. We have about half a minute more here, so you can kind of move around as you like. You know this. And then we'll come to hands and knees. So when you're ready to release shell stretch, use an exhale to help you up. Make a hands and knees position on the mat. And our cat stretch, we'll be looking for a little remedy or release from our extension, but also for an understanding of how the shoulders and shoulder blades relate to the flexed or curved forward shape of the spine. So in hands and knees, tuck your toes under if you can. I'm going to change my camera just a little bit. Right. And we'll do a little bit of shoulder manipulation first. Of course, you can rock forward and back to find your centeredness if you like. Then I'd like you to shift the ribs forward and back, feeling the protraction or separation forward of the shoulder blades, and then the retraction or drawing together and back. As you shift the ribs, and of course, the spine goes with the ribs. We're kind of massaging the articulation of the shoulder blades with the ribs. And some people consider that articulation an actual joint, even though it's composed entirely of muscles. Get into the center of that joint or that articulation with shoulder blades and ribs. And on an exhale breath, we'll round the spine from the bottom to the top without straining the shoulder blade articulation. Now, once you've made your rounded shape, put your weight a lot into your knees, of course, a little bit into your hands. Let your head drop and imagine here as you breathe that you're in a forward curve or ab prep from the mat. So this is like you're in tabletop and you've bent forward into your best curve. Can you feel that from the bottom of the ribs in the front
And from the back of the armpit behind you, you can activate the arms down the ribs rather than up the neck and still maintain a curve in the rib, spine, and shoulders. Inhale here. And now finally release to neutral, starting with the pelvis. Feel the breath rising through the ribs, the center of the chest, the neck, and the head. We're not going to do extension here with this one. We take a breath and exhale, round again. Feel the connection of the shoulders and arms downward into center without breaking the spine at any level. Inhale and exhale, simply return through neutral. Feel the adjustment of the ribs through the shoulders, the leveling of the gaze forward between the fingertips. Do this 2 more times, practicing the articulation and the coordination of shoulders with flexion, continuous through the curve of the neck, and then continuous as you return through neutral. And one more time, please. When you've returned from the last repetition, lie on your back. Now, because we'll be working in tabletop, if you know that you want to use a wall to place your feet against or have a chair underneath, I know we've got all sorts of different levels and challenges here. So do the thing that's healthy for your body. And especially if you're recovering from injury or something like that, work more on technique and less on brute strength, or certainly less on the drama or pushing your boundaries of any given exercise. So lay on your back. Now you know the 100, you don't have to bend forward either. That activation of the ribs through the shoulders downwards still applies. You can augment that with a flex band, which will drape over our knees once we're in tabletop. But let's take it a step at a time. We should all be on our backs. You might have a flex band nearby. Please bend your knees if they're not. Inhale to prepare. And exhale to make your imprint. When you have your imprint, take a moment on your inhale to feel a comfortable heaviness into the mat. Don't press into the mat, just release into it. And then on your exhale, make your tabletop one leg at a time. And you might use another exhale for the second leg. That's fine and usually appropriate. When your feet are in tabletop, whether or not they're on a chair or a wall or just floating in space, engage your inner thighs. Just once, even before placing the flex band, squeeze inner thighs on your exhale and feel response in the low belly. Then if you're using a flex band, you'll drape it over the shins just below the knees. Once you've gotten that, return the legs to tabletop, squeezing the knees together, point your toes, and one more time, exhale and pull down. Feel the impulse in the low abs moving into the bottom of the ribs without pinching or tightening the upper back. You'll feel it in the arms through the back of the armpit, but that's different than in your spine. You can choose to keep your head down, or if you're bending forward, now inhale and nod. Exhale and curve the spine, bottom to top. Begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continuing. Feeling the connection of the arms and the shoulders downward without compromising your ability to bend the spine. You can even visualize yourself in a cat stretch for the duration of this exercise. We have 10 sets of 10 breaths, probably approaching the halfway point. And again, focus on the feeling of the breath and the technique of this exercise as your priority. hmm And of course, when you've done your last set, inhale smoothly, pull down gently enough to open the chest. And then exhale, support yourself as you lower. Once you've lowered, let's go ahead and put the flex band off to the side and take a moment to stretch here. You can hug your knees in, roll left and right, do little motions through the hips and shoulders, or you can put your feet down and simply stretch out. We have about a half minute of little rest interval here before we come to a seated position. Now, once you're up into a sitting position, um, we're of course going to sequence that from half roll back and do some of that work. Sit on whatever brings you high enough off the ground to give you comfortable mobility in the hips as well as in the lower spine. So I'm going to put a blanket underneath. And you can, of course, at this point, choose to use props between the inner thigh line at any time you like. We sit up nice and tall, and I suggest holding onto the shins. Although, if you don't have super long arms, you can hold on to the back of the thighs. And we're just going to do imprint. And I'd like you to not pull on the knobby bone at the base of the neck and not resist through the shoulders, right? You'll allow your elbows angle to adapt to your imprint. Take a breath in. And exhale, feel the breath first, and then the lower ab contraction that pulls the front of your pelvis back, lengthening the lower spine. Allow the tail to glide toward the underside of the hips. Inhale here, super subtle, and exhale, release. So at the very beginning of class, we did imprint and release with the same pattern. Prepare with a breath in. And exhale, contracting the abs only after you've released and supported the upper body. Inhale and exhale, release. Now, if you're able to extend the arms forward, you're going to support the arms through the back of the armpit and the base of the ribs, even though they're in front of you. Exhale, roll back, and go back as far as you can go, curving or flexing through the spine, finding that boundary of where you can move to before the neck and the shoulders start to resist or become unsupported. Inhale at that point and exhale, return. 2 more of these, please. Exhale, rolling back. Finding the boundary of your safe movement. And from there, exhaling to return. And last repetition. All right. Lower your arms, relax for a moment. Now, this next thing you can choose to do with feet on or off the ground. It's a big challenge for those muscles I was talking about inside the back of the armpit and through the bottom of the ribs. So we're going to come to more of a rolling like a ball position. It builds from half roll back. And again, you have your hands wherever they feel secure. Exhale. Get the rise, the flow of the breath upward,
and then contract the abs. Remember, the ab contraction doesn't push the breath. They just happen to be associated or in tandem right here. Walk your feet in. And if you're going to keep your feet on the ground but want a little extra challenge, you can lift your heels. If you're going to lift your feet from the ground, from that lifted heel point, go ahead and float a foot at a time upward. And you might find that you need to adjust the place where you're sitting. Hold on to the shins, and just once, right? And I'll show the one with the feet on the ground. Bend from the bottom of the ribs and activate the inside of the back of your armpit. Right, you should not have to bend the neck overtly, right? So here, here, here. And then extend the arms in front, please, palms up. We will not twist, but we will do a little rotational movement through the arms. So on the exhale, arms rise. On the inhale, they go wide and drop down. Exhale, arms rise. Inhale, wide and drop down. Do not hold the curve in your spine by cranking on your neck. Firm from lower abs into lower ribs like you did in cat stretch. After 4, return the feet, the heels to the ground, and curve forward over the legs. Again, don't crank on the neck. Don't try to stretch it. Instead, just put a little movement into it. Of course, we're going to do the reverse with the arms in a moment. Rolling up, reestablishing neutral through the spine in a vertical position before exhaling and recreating the imprint, right? Exhale first, and then after you've established the breath support, contract the abs. Feet walk in a little bit. You know the sequencing, you know your options. Take a breath. And once you're where you need to work, we have the arms down a little bit, palms up. We reverse the circles. Inhale, and then as you exhale, sweep wide, lift up, bring the arms in, and inhale down along your sides. Exhale. Keep the cat-shaped curve, angry cat curve in the body. And then feet lower one at a time. Heels. Stretch your legs and sit upright for a moment. Flex and point the feet. So flexing and pointing the feet. Then relax the legs. And of course, you can have any degree of bend in them that you want to have. Nod the chin to the chest without pulling on the neck. Expand the area between the back of your heart and the inside of your spine. Weird, like there's a window back there. And then exhale, release the breath through that window and roll down. Just halfway. Inhale at the bottom. And exhale as the breath rises, let it align you. Keeping openness behind where your heart rests in your chest. Lifting the crown up. Good. Put your left hand down and bring your right hand beside or behind the back of your head. So left hand is beside you in some sense. I'm going to keep this angle so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to bend a little bit to the left, allowing the left elbow to soften without closing or rolling the shoulder. Lifting up the right elbow. On the reformer, this would be mermaid. Inhale and feel the stretch going down the right side of the body into the muscles at the side of the waist and the lower back. And then exhale, return. Now listen, extend the right arm to the side and wrap it around to the left. Put your hand down. Hold here and breathe. And so if you did spinal rotation sitting, this is a lot like that. Hold, inhale, and exhale, release. Now, right hand goes down. Left hand supports the back of your head. Keep that open window behind the back of your heart and through the base of your skull. And as you exhale and bend to the right, soften the right elbow. Keep the shoulders open. Don't press or resist through the back of your neck. In your side curve, have a breath in and out, or maybe two. Inhale finally, and return on exhale. Extend left arm and wrap it around. Breathe. And release. We're going to lie down onto our back, ball or block between the ankles or the knees, no head mat, and we do shoulder bridge. Shoulder bridge, super neck safe, shoulder safe way of working the obliques and working the core. So I encourage you, if you've lost focus on your center, return it there. Feel that deep space in the center of the pelvis, underneath the surface. Feel the openness of the chest and the depth of it. And as you inhale and exhale once here, let the inhale fall through the levels of your spine and the warmth of the exhale move up through as you soften. Now inhale. Begin to exhale, and as the breath leaves, of course, you're squeezing the ball and start to press down through your feet to lift the hips up. The spine remains neutral as the hips rise from the ground. Inhale at the top. Before moving, start your exhale, get the feeling of support and release, and then lower gently, preserving neutral spine. We do 3 more, easy peasy. Exhaling, rising, the feet press down, you feel work in the glutes and the back of the thighs and openness in the front of the hips. Inhale at the top. Find the correct timing and sequence as you exhale, and then release to ground. Work the exhale breath core-wise. And at the top of your bridge, feel that spreading as though the arms were reaching behind you. The chest opens, you get a gentle stretch through the back of the neck because of the angle of the upper body. And then exhale, lower. Final repetition, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and you feel what you need to feel. Good, you guys. When you've lowered from the last one, go ahead and stretch your legs out long. Okay. Have a couple of breaths there. And then roll over onto your side. Oh, actually, I changed my mind. Roll over onto your front, please. If you recall that sort of clamshell shape that some of us were using in sitting, right? We're going to recreate it here with the knees apart and the heels together. It's as though you'd done a double clamshell. Right? Feel like you're holding a tray on the bottom of your feet. And then with your abs, gently glide the bottom of the pelvis forward and feel the wall of the belly lining up through the waist with the lower ribs. Hands are wherever you can comfortably rest the upper body. So they might be under your shoulders, under your forehead, right? You'll know it when you're there. Take a breath. And I'd like you to keep this open position of the legs and very gently exhale and activate your inner thighs from your lower belly. Inhale, soften this. And then exhale, repeat it, activating inner thighs from lower belly. We repeat this 3 more times, slowly, carefully. Mm-hmm. Feet gently flexed as though you were holding a tray on the bottom of them, that tray face in the ceiling. Finish that last repetition. And then unbend your knees, straighten your legs. Keep the legs wide and laterally rotated. And notice that you could almost make an imprint-like movement here if you applied your lower abs. Right. So we're going to go into swan dive prep. It's a big extension for the spine, right? We'll be using all of the spinal extensors, but also applying your core. And so this is why we save it for the end. It's a tricky one. You want to feel the breath first, the supportive core, and then allow the belly, the front of the body and hips to stretch into extension. Bring your hands up near your shoulders like you do for breaststroke prep number 1. We have the legs wide so the pelvis can do that articulation. I'd like you to prepare with an inhale. And then on the exhale, come up to just the bottom ribs. Check the position of your head here, right? We don't want any extra extension at the neck, just a little lift, a little opening of the throat. Now we're going to start to add a press through the arms. Take a breath, stretch through your legs. Exhale, and then continue upward. Pressing through the arms from the inside of the back of your armpits, connecting through the bottom of the ribs into the low abs. Make that sort of imprint motion with the low spine and pelvis using your low belly muscles. Inhale at the top and exhale, roll it back down. Now, super important in this one to work through a range that allows you to connect the arms and shoulders downward into your core. Continue into the next repetition, maybe staging it through the bottom of the ribs first. And then once you ensure you've got the connection, the continuity into core, then you continue extending upward, doing that slight imprint motion through the pelvis. The legs are wider so we can articulate there. Stretching the front of the hips and inhaling, no strain in the neck, head stacked over the shoulders. Exhaling and lower. We have one more to do. I'm going to keep kind of quiet. Use everything you've gathered from our workout thus far. Beautiful, guys. And when you're down, sit back into your best version of shell stretch. And in fact, if your neck is a little sore, just because it's that way, I know mine is. I've been shoveling so much dirt this summer. Make a little stack of your fist or use your ball and rest your forehead on it. Resting your forehead on some surface is a signal to your nervous system. I swear I'm not making this up. A signal to your nervous system that both ends of your spine are grounded and safe. And so it can relax along its length.
We finish here with just 2 or 3 rounds of breath. Nice and smooth in. Don't apply any force to the inhale. Gentle out. No force here either. Couple more times. And then you'll inhale, prepare to roll up. Push off a little bit with your hands, and exhale, return to vertical. See the space in front of you. Inhale, opening, focusing the eyes, and exhaling. Good, you guys. And we're done this morning. Have a really great Friday and a good weekend, and I'll see you next time.